People of Reddit who used the fake it until you make it method. What was the thing you faked and how long did it take you to make it? Went to grad school for applied math. Got my first job working in banking. There are still at least 100 acronyms I don't know, but I learned how to say things like the trick is just finding that balance until the meeting is over and I get to go back to my nerd stuff. A math graduate, just got a job at a credit union. I know the feeling. I used to be a high school teacher. There was a 12-year-old who was one of the least likable children I had ever worked with. He had neither charm nor looks, personality nor intelligence. He was sullen, resentful, belligerent, disruptive, and permanently sour-faced. When he entered the room, my heart would sink. Then I remembered how my mother told me that when me and my sisters were little and life was very busy, she would get up early to get some chores done. Only sometimes we would wake up too. She said that when she heard our feet on the stairs, her heart would sink, because she knew she wouldn't get her chores all done now. But she had made a promise to herself that none of her children would ever be made to feel unwanted. So when we put our head round the kitchen door, we were always greeted with a smile and a cheerful good morning. It occurred to me that in this lad's life, no one was ever pleased to see him. Not his mother nor his father, not his teachers nor his siblings, and he had not much by way of friends. He was nothing but a nuisance, a pest and an annoyance to everyone who knew him, and that was heartbreaking. So from then on, whenever he came into my classroom, I greeted him cheerfully and asked how he was doing. Believe me, that smile was faked. I didn't feel it at all, until one day I did. I actually began to care for him, and sometimes I even got a half smile back. ETA, high school is another name for secondary school in Scotland. Ages 12-18. Sorry for any confusion. ETA again. Whoa, this has really blown up overnight. Thank you for all your lovely comments, and a Reddit gold at that. I am quite overwhelmed. And if you were that kid, I hope you now have someone who smiles when they see you. Dude probably still remembers you. Little League baseball coach. I was a soccer kid growing up who never played baseball, but I was dating a MILF at the time and her son's little league coach got fired because he would slap the boys on the butt after they hit a home run. It wasn't that hard to figure out. Whenever a left-hander was at bat, I'd shift my infield to the right and everyone thought I was a freaking genius defensive technician. I got slapped on the butt in Little League and I never hit a home run. One of the coaches was just a butt slapper. I guess nobody complained. Currently faking my job being harder than it is. My boss has been super impressed with my work, so I see no reason to work harder since I'm at a set pay. So I spend about 6 hours a day on Reddit and my boss tells me I'm the best worker on the project. I'm doing the exact same thing. I faked feeling comfortable in a new culture and forced myself to speak the language even though I was very bad at it and felt like an idiot. Also had a bit of social anxiety, but I needed to learn somehow. It took about a year till I was fluent and reasonably integrated. Living in a different culture where you can't understand everyone else or their customs can be both scary and exciting. Well done for sticking with it. As a guy from Dublin who moved to Cork 6 years ago, I know exactly what you went through. Cold calling. I was terrified to pick up the phone and call complete strangers to get information out of them. So to compensate, I literally puffed out my chest and forced myself to speak loudly. After the first 30-40 phone calls, I became much more comfortable and eventually got pretty good. Faking through my anxiety has helped me get to the other side of a lot of it. I didn't want my kids to grow up with fears based on my anxiety, so I just power through stuff when I am in front of them. Faking confidence in front of my kids has given me confidence as well. This isn't actually faking it, a lot of people don't realize it. Feeling crippling fear and acting on crippling fear are two very different things. I once tricked my co-workers in a removal company into thinking I'm a supervisor so I could sit idly and order them around instead of working myself. All it really took was a different colored company shirt and a keychain with an ad card. Just a random white card. The owner of the company caught me and promoted me to supervisor because you already know what to do. I tell this story all the time and people tend to not believe me, but it's true. The owner was also probably thinking, might as well promote this guy because if everyone else finds out he lied, I'll have to deal with a lot of complaints. LPT. Fake it till you make it does not apply to orgasms. Ladies, if you fake it, you will never make it because your partner will have no freaking clue what actually works and what doesn't. Agreed, which is unfair to both of you. If he can't hit the button, do it yourself. Show him. Tell him what you want and like. Don't settle for less. MATLAB. Found a job which was a perfect fit for me. Other than it required being proficient in MATLAB. I decided I knew C and Java, so I was sure I could figure it out. Every task that required MATLAB I just worked feverishly, hacking together what I could from pre-existing code and online help, and then went home and googled what I needed to know on my own time. I took one of MathWorks' online training classes. In about 3 months, I was suddenly the most proficient MATLAB user on the team. Turns out, most of the team was terrible at MATLAB, and basically just wrote Fortran code, not using any of the advanced features available. My confidence. As soon as I started faking being confident, I just was. Same goes with any quality you want. Impatient? Fake being patient and you'll become a patient person. Angry? Fake being a calm person and you'll become calm. Unhappy? Fake being happy and you'll become happy. But don't fake it like you're trying with half-assed effort. You really got to try. Obviously this doesn't work if you've got a biological condition that isn't caused by what you've done with your own free will. As a kid I took a beginner level swimming class but accidentally went to the wrong end of the swimming pool where the more advanced class was about to begin. The teacher looked at me dubiously. I was obviously shorter and younger than the other students, and asked me to demonstrate the front crawl. I gamely jumped in and tried crawling in the water, as I had no idea what she was talking about. To my credit, I did not drown or need a rescue. I was asked to rejoin my class. I had the stroke down by the end of the summer. I faked being super sweet and nice to get into this girl's pants. Only took a couple dates. Joke's on me because we've been married for 3 years now. Just about everything when I was a new nurse. I wasn't even allowed to place an IV or draw blood as a student. So much of what you do is a first experience. You learn quickly that telling people you're new doesn't exactly inspire confidence. You have to have good enough judgment to know when to ask for help versus a non-dangerous situation that can be figured out on your own. Enjoying deviled eggs. Took about 5 months of faking, poorly, that I enjoyed them before I started to like them. Now I could eat those tasty B24/6. Social interaction. I'm autistic and so it's just kinda been a lifelong process of learning what's appropriate in social situations and what isn't. Just a lot of mimicking what other people do. I still don't get jokes or sarcasm, but it's something I still work at every day and I can at least say I'm a semi-functional member of society. So, yeah. A shy, quiet, 4/10, faked pretending to be hot for a play once. After the shows, a co-star confessed they thought I was hot. A person's attractiveness has a lot to do with their confidence. I've met a lot of people I wasn't attracted to initially but grew attracted simply because they were confident and comfortable in their own skin. Being good at that one exam I wrote once. It was in an economics class. Really difficult topic. For me. Basically focused on all my shortcomings in the field. I knew I was going to flunk the exam and had made my peace with it. The day we took it though, I decided to be really funny and to act really confident in how I am going to ace it, mainly to amuse my classmates. I walked around saying how easy it was going to be and even went from person to person, all worrying about the exam, bragging, but also trying to make them relax a little. It was gonna be so funny when it turned out that I failed the exam miserably. Then it was time to take the exam. I won't say I didn't at least try to answer the questions reasonably, but I only wrote 1.5 pages while others wrote upwards of 5, and I honestly didn't know what I was talking about for the vast majority of the exam. Or so I thought. Apparently I had not only fooled my classmates, but also myself. We got the results and I only remember my teacher saying great work. I'm proud of you and me sitting there dumbfounded that I somehow got 97%. The second best result in the class. And my only mistakes were really stupid wording in one question. I don't know what sort of hidden knowledge I unlocked that day. In the end, my act of bragging before taking the exam didn't seem funny at all. In the eyes of my classmates, I just seemed like an butt. Sometimes the answer is all about being concise, not how much you write. If a page and a half has all the answers, then that's all you need. Way too many people pad out essay questions to sound smarter. Architectural drafting. When I was 19 I got a job at an engineering firm. They hired me because I said I knew the software and took classes in high school and one class in college. No degree. I knew literally nothing. First week on the job my manager could probably tell I didn't know what I was doing. But every night I went on YouTube for several hours and learned whatever I ran into that day. After 3 months, lots of questions and YouTube, I was doing just as fine as anyone else. I still work in the industry but now I'm designing electrical plans. Learned that the same way. Engineering construction is weird. I work for a design build GC and went to school for civil engineering. I learned 100% of the stuff on the job. College really didn't prep me for anything. Literally zero real world experience is being taught. Worked at an electronic repair shop. This store specifically took on more difficult repairs and focused heavily on advanced micro soldering. When I applied I completely faked the whole interview, acting like I knew all of the terms the owner was talking about and acted like I've been fixing this stuff since I was a kid. When being evaluated and trained I still always acted like I knew exactly what I was doing even though I didn't have a clue. About 6 months into the job I actually became a really good technician just from trial and error and a little guidance from my co-workers. Turns out I had a natural talent in the business. When the going gets tough and I don't feel in love with my boyfriend, I fake it until I do. It never changes the fact that I love him. But hearts are fickle, feelings can't be trusted, and when you fake it your heart will eventually believe you. Unfortunately it doesn't work in reverse. You can't really fake it till you make it when it comes to not loving someone. You can analyze every single flaw of theirs and list out every reason as to why you should hate them, and then they do one of the things that made you love them and you're back to square one, except a little more depressed. I guess AA would be the biggest. At first I went because I felt it would get my family off my back. I even went to AA just so I could get out of the house and buy booze. When I went to rehab, it was mandatory to go to a meeting every day. After that I continued to go, and actually started to like most of the community. I don't know how long it took to make it, maybe a year. I've been sober for 4.5 years now and have moved on to other things for my sobriety. But AA was probably one of the best things I could have done. 4.5 years of sobriety is freaking awesome. Keep soldiering on, friend. My current job is a management position at a call center. It's kind of a weird position, and when I was hired into it nobody else here really knew what I was supposed to do, so I was more or less plopped into the position with no actual training. I got connected with someone in another site that did the same work, but all he did was direct me to about 30 minutes worth of training material. And that basically just helped me figure out how to open and sign into the various programs I need to use during the day. I basically just stumbled through things until I more or less had it figured out. I even got an award for my first quarter working in the position for the improvements my work made to the account. Even now I still get thrown a curveball every now and then that I have to fudge my way through. Got drunk one night and signed up to become an online minister. No idea why. Fiance mentions this to a few friends and now I officiate a lot of weddings in my spare time. Money is decent but I had no idea what I was doing and I'm a pretty outspoken atheist. My writing career has pretty much been one big case of fake it till you make it. A lot of my freelancing gigs came from people I'd worked for in the past saying, "So we've got this new project, all about whatever. Do you know anyone who could give you however many words in the next month?" And me saying, "Sure, I can do that." I guess it was a lot of learning about things as quickly as possible, which made it extremely interesting but gave me a weirdly specific knowledge on a bunch of random topics. When I started writing fiction for a living, it was a bit of a leap of faith. I had no real reason to believe I could actually do it, but I was in a place in my life where I didn't really have a lot going on for me and I needed to try something new. My approach was to make it my day job. It didn't matter that no one was buying. It didn't matter that I was new and that I didn't have an audience. I was going to head to the library every day and pound out as many words as I could until I made it work, because that was my job. Dang it. It took about 6 months before I started earning decent money, and that was in the days before Amazon tried to kill the short form erotica market and made it a lot less viable, so I can't necessarily recommend it as a path to success. But I also think it's important to treat writing as a serious business if you ever want it to be more than a hobby. My job in IT. I started with no education, certifications, etc, and I'm now a security engineer. Turns out this job's a joke. I've legit been wanting to move toward an IT job. The last 2 full-time jobs I've had, completely unrelated to IT. I always buddy up with the IT guy, and I'm knowledgeable enough to be on the phone with them, able to follow their instructions and get done what needs to be done if they can't be on site. Teach me your ways. I spent 4 months as practice manager at my last practice. Still not sure what my daily responsibilities were. The practice was doing well, so I basically sat it on a bunch of meetings, sent some meaningless emails to the management team, and walked around the clinic pretending to help out. When I first moved to Chicago, I had about a year of serving experience and no bartending experience. I'd get serving gigs and they just assumed, based on my personality, that I could also bartend, so I kept being put behind the bar despite having no clue how to make a vodka lemonade. Lots of trial and error ensued, and, with zero actual study, I can now say I can make a vodka lemonade, and a myriad of other standard and not so standard cocktails, and that while I wouldn't say I've made it, I am gainfully employed as a bartender and I don't feel out of place. I was super shy and introverted until I realized it wasn't getting me anywhere. Then I started acting like I was a shameless outgoing, borderline obnoxiously loud guy. It felt super fake for a few months, and now I'm that guy. In high school I was in advanced Polish literature class and I have not read any of the books that we had to read and I had no knowledge of the subject, since I never listened to the teacher. I faked my way through the class and final exams that got me accepted to university. 90% on the written exam and 100% on the oral exam. I still don't know how it happened. Not a humble brag, I just really don't understand how it happened. I faked away a hangover. My husband and I had a friend over to play D&D and we went in pretty hard on the tequila. We finished 2 decent sized bottles between the 3 of us. Our friend crashed at our place and she was too wasted to drive, so I put her to bed with a trash can which she put to good use over the course of the night. My husband and I stumbled into bed and my internal clock woke me up at a reasonable 8 AM, with a throbbing headache and some pretty decent nausea. I guzzled a bottle of water and took some Excedrin. I took some before bed too, to no avail. Before crawling back into bed, I checked on my peeps who were sleeping soundly. When everyone finally started to rouse to start the day, I grabbed the Excedrin and bottles of water and popped to my friend and offered her 2 pills in a bottle. Then I skipped over to my husband and offered him the same. Both times I did this with a smile on my face and chipper disposition. "Whoa, you seem to be feeling good this morning," observed my husband. I just grinned at him and said, "Nope, I feel terrible, but I'm not gonna let that stop me from being a proper host and having a lovely Sunday." Both my drunken comrades were still vomiting and feeling dizzy well into the afternoon. I woke up feeling the worst I had in quite a long time, but I figured, why not try just smiling and faking feeling good until I actually do? It took a lot of internal will. Every wave of nausea I fought away with closing my eyes and some deep breathing, and every time I wanted to complain about the hammer working diligently at cracking my skull, I just smiled instead and asked how everyone else was feeling. I didn't feel 100% until the next day. Hangovers in your 30s are a gift from the devil, but I was significantly better than if I had just popped a bunch of painkillers and moped around in bed all day. Once you get past the "if I move I'll throw up" stage, it's just a matter of willpower and hydration. As a new doctor at 27, I'm 29 now, I was unsure of myself and my abilities. I was diagnosed with imposter syndrome as well. I had to fake it and truly convince myself that I was that person who can answer people's questions and I can be an authoritative figure. 2 years later, I am confident in myself and exactly who I wanted to be. I was expecting someone to post that someone faked graduating med school and was a doctor without going to med school. I am surprisingly a little bit disappointed but also glad that nobody has posted this. I work in IT and imposter syndrome is quite common in IT as well. Actually listening to others. I used to just sit there while people talk to me, but I tried to fake contently listening to people in conversation, and now I really do enjoy it. Didn't take long at all. For a long time I didn't know how to react when I met someone cool, and how to compliment people who I was intimidated by. So I copied my friend's mannerisms because he's the coolest freaking dude I know, and it helped me to get to a place where I can talk to anyone about anything because the anxiety just isn't there anymore. A lot of it is just being genuine and relaxed. Thanks, Alistair. He even has a cool name. What the frick? I faked belonging. When I got clean I felt like a fraud. Early in my recovery from IV, M&H, I felt like the biggest fraud ever. I miraculously landed a good job in a professional setting. Big time. Fancy office with fancy people with fancy degrees who drive fancy cars and wore fancy clothes. I constantly thought they would just know I wasn't what I seemed. I looked and dressed the part. I don't talk like a hood rat, but still. Those first few months and years were so uncomfortable, but I faked it till I made it, both professionally and in recovery. Now I have a handful of years under my belt. It gets easier every day. Now I feel like my true self, and that's a really good feeling when your true self is someone you don't have to feel ashamed of. I was in sales, dealing with customers and people every single day. I'm super introverted. I would have like 20-30 go-to lines I'd be able to say to make conversation. Eventually I had 200-300 and would be able to just talk to people. Now I'm not in sales, so I get to hide in my office like a troll. Teaching. I was hired because I'm an engineer in the field that I'm teaching. Nobody expected me to know anything about teaching. The job ad said that I would get training teaching. I started working on a Thursday, and by Monday at 8:15 I was in front of 25 students along with another noob teacher. Turned out teacher training normally didn't start in the first year of employment, so I just had to make crap up for a long time. At my internship my mentor asked me if I had already learned fluid mechanics in class before. I lied and said I haven't. I'm taking it this fall semester. So my mentor set up design case projects that involved quite a number of materials from fluid mechanics. I ended up doing a short crash course on some of the materials needed on the project. Did really well on my design case project. Got some hands on experience and probably have a good base to build on when I start my actual fluid dynamics course this fall. Win-win immo. I've basically faked everything to get to where I'm at, and it's worked out well. I used to be really shy and antisocial. Crap, I've probably logged more hours on RuneScape and WoW combined than I have total sleep throughout my life. First thing to fake is confidence in what I'm talking about. I read something a bit ago that said people can't tell the difference between confidence and knowledge, so if you sound confident in what you say, they tend to believe you more. Standing up straight with your shoulders back and looking people in the eyes when you talk. If you find this uncomfortable, you can look at the spot right between their eyes to resolve this. This has worked well for work. Second thing I fake is confidence in my looks. Listen, I'm not really the most attractive guy, but I'm above average and I have great hair. If you talk about how great your best features are in a non-arrogant way, took some time to figure out the best way to do this, people will view you as a more attractive person. This has worked well for relationships or for just overall getting laid. Last thing I truly fake is being happy and optimistic. I read before that forcing yourself to smile will actually make you feel a bit happier. So going all the way and just pretending to be happy actually made me forget I was faking it after a while and I was just normally happy. All of these took different degrees of time, but overall it's worked out heavily in my favor. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.